And welcome back to the My Hero Academia Quirk Creation Series. In today's Quirk Creation Series, by the way, it wasn't out yesterday. Again, things got away from me. It's here today. That's the important thing. And this one comes to us from Yaju World, who asked the question, what is Sosuke Aizen from Bleach's quirk? Now, when it comes to the Bleach characters, in fact, the vast majority of them, the quirks I can create for them are pretty easy. It's mostly trying to adapt their Zanpakutos into a quirk. Now, if you're new to the channel, or I guess let me rephrase it. If you are a frequent regular of the channel, you know I'm a big fan of Bleach. I really like the series. It is, I think, my favorite of the big three: One Piece and Naruto. And Bleach, it was my favorite, followed by Naruto. Bleach came in. One Piece came dead last. So yeah, and I've done plenty of videos talking about Bleach in the past. I'll probably do more in the future. But the question would be, is that how do I adapt Kyoka Suigetsu, into a quirk? And for those of you who don't know what his ability does, what the sword's ability does, is the ability of complete hypnosis. And I mean complete hypnosis. You can control your opponent's, multiple opponents' senses, all 5 of them. You can make them see, hear, feel, taste, or touch, or smell anything, and make it seem perfectly real. And when you're highly, highly super intelligent like he is, that is a very hacked ability. And on the fact, when you're basically among the strongest characters in the entire series, that is also a hacked ability, because you can put a lot of power and make them seem even more effective. There was only these illusions could last well after he activated and deactivated his sword too. The illusions he placed under the characters he initially placed them on lasted over 100 years. They were still under his spell even after deactivating the sword. The only real workaround for it is you have to touch the blade before it activates, and that way you can be immune to the effects of the sword. Now, how do I translate that into a quirk? Well, that's pretty simple. First off, what is this guy's hero/villain name? In this case, it'd be his villain name. That would be the $1 million question. I suppose he might call himself the Grand Soul King, something along the lines of the Soul King, or Conqueror of Souls, Conqueror of Worlds, something along those lines, because his aspirations were huge when you really break it down. He was going to overthrow the linchpin of the Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, and Earth. He was going to literally destroy and replace the thing that governed reality and held it in place, more or less. So, yeah, pretty big goals. So I could see him naming himself after some concept of that. Now, what would his quirk actually do? Well, obviously his quirk would be called complete hypnosis, or Suika. I said it right at the beginning. Suigetsu Kyoka Suigetsu. I always butcher the name. Kyoka Suigetsu. But how do I translate that into a My Hero Academia world? If I remember, whenever I get around to doing a Bleach My Hero crossover with the Bleach characters in My Hero's world, how am I going to effectively do that? Because if I were to use his actual ability as it is in the series, then that is the most broken, literally in the top 3 most broken abilities in the entirety of My Hero Academia. Like, straight on. Ares Rewind Quirk definitely falls in there. One for all for one definitely falls in there too. Decay, when it's up to its max degree, is a pretty broken quirk. Overhaul's quirk is pretty broken, but it'd easily be in the top 5 minimum, because there's no counter to something like that in My Hero at all. Illusionary quirks in My Hero, from what we can tell, are very rare. Same with high regeneration quirks. They're not easy to come by, and the few that have them only have them in such a way. For, I believe, Kami has a illusionary quirk, but it's pretty basic, and it can clearly be overwhelmed. Obviously the no moves have a regeneration quirk, but that's because those quirks were put in them. The Doctor, I can't remember his name, has a regeneration quirk, but it limits his mobility. So, and quirks are physical abilities. They have generally a limitation built into them. So what would Aizen's quirk actually do in the My Hero world? Well, I think it does do everything Kyoka Suigetsu does in Bleach. It is the ability to control all 5 senses and at once. I'll also say this. I think that it would have the long-lasting effect. Someone who's seen the quirk would be under the effects of the quirk for a long time. Now, not decades to centuries to millennium. But let's say, I don't know, he fought All for One decades ago. Hypothetically, the quirk could still be in effect. I would be more willing to say it could last a couple years as opposed to a couple decades to centuries. I think that'd be the limit. I also say, but the question is, how does he activate it? Does he just... I think that right there needs to be the limitation for Aizen here. He needs to activate it in a way where, yeah, once he activates it, they're under the effects of his quirk, no doubt about it. But he needs an activation point. He needs something that triggers the activation of the quirk. And I think, honestly, it's a Thanos thing. I don't know if that picks up. 1 second. If you can hear that, I'm snapping my fingers. He snaps his fingers, and all of a sudden, it's almost like he's warping reality. Now, he's just has people under an illusion. But still, his hypnosis would work like with a finger snap. Now, once he snaps and gets someone trapped in the illusion, then it's kind of more for him to just kind of decide. I will say this: the one other limitation I would probably put on this quirk, and is the only other limitation I can think of to make it not completely broken and spamming, is that it's like taxing on the mind. Now, if you're strong-willed, if you've got a strong imagination, high intelligence, those issues can be mitigated to a degree, just like Aizen has. However, that doesn't mean you're free from consequence. I imagine he'd be getting a bigger and bigger headache after using it for a certain period of time. I can't think of an awakened version of this quirk because honestly, this quirk would probably what we see with the quirk is the awakened version. But I imagine Aizen could be going for 15, 20 minutes straight before he starts to get a headache. And the longer he goes, the more he could probably get a migraine, maybe even stroke himself out if he's not careful. If someone has a quirk that's actually designed to counter his, he could actually be in a lot of trouble. For instance, someone who has the ability to just see through illusions, hypothetically, this wouldn't have any effect. Hypothetically. But remember, and this is the big thing here, Aizen isn't making illusions, his ability isn't to create illusions. His ability is to literally control all of your senses. This is where, and I always bring it up, and I hate that I keep bringing it up, but it's irrelevant. This is where I think Death Battle really got it wrong in the Madara versus Aizen fight. Apart from the level of power, and the biggest thing I actually had issue was the characterization of Aizen. That was just not Aizen. But the fact is that that's the illusion thing. Yeah, that's what he most commonly uses it for, but that's not what Kyoka Suigetsu does. It doesn't create illusion, and it can, but that's not its ability. Its ability is to literally control all your senses. That's why I watched that fight, and I'm like, wait, yeah, maybe Madara could see the fact that it was a copy, but it doesn't matter because he's controlling his senses. Wouldn't it just be the fact that even if he knows it's an illusion, it doesn't matter? He sees a flicker and just goes back to looking like Aizen or whatever he's looking at? I don't know. Anyway, all I know is Kyoka Suigetsu as a quirk but a lot of the Bleach characters, Zanpakuto Toes or whatever, say the Quincy Shrifts will make bonkers strong quirks. So the trick is really going to be trying to balance them out enough that if and when it's most likely a when, whenever I get to a My Hero Bleach crossover, I don't just completely screw the pooch and just make everyone hey, I'm All Might, the strongest, one of the greatest heroes in the world. It's yeah, you can't even touch Aizen. Yamamoto's hotter than Endeavor. I mean, Kenpachi can just cut you straight down. Rukia can literally bring things down to absolute zero. So, yeah, it's it's a little tricky sometimes to do a quirk that's not too overpowered. Anyway, what's next week's quirk? Oh, goody. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Have a good one.